in our heads. Early love changes the way people think. This was proven by Dr. Donatella Maraziti, a psychiatrist at the University of Pisa, who studied couples who said they were madly in love and were in their early 6 months. The serotonin levels of these new lovers are equal to the low serotonin levels of obsessive-compulsive disorder patients. And we all know how OCD works, right? So after adrenaline, which activates stress response and elevates the blood levels, and endorphin, which makes you happy, and serotonin, which is responsible for the popping of the head, what more can dopamine do? Dopamine, number 4. Dopamine gives the same feeling to us, like cocaine. It is addictive. That is the reason why we want to see our partner again and again and again. But it doesn't go that long. After 2 years or 18 months to be exact, the body doesn't produce that much dopamine anymore. And the last hormone, the cuddle hormone, people call it the cuddle hormone, the mother hormone, and the love hormone. Lucky guess? Yes, oxytocin. It's a very powerful hormone that our body releases during sexual intercourse and orgasm. It is the hormone responsible for comfort. It takes away fear. It deepens the feeling of attachment and helps to cement the feeling of bonding. In here, we enter the third and the last element, the brain and its parts. Sue Carter, a neuroendocrinologist, studied about prairie voles. Here are prairie voles. Prairie voles are rodents found in the United States, and what's funny and what's really romantic about them is that after mating, they are monogamous for life. First, they inject oxytocin to the brain of the female prairie voles. And after injecting, it resulted to faster bondings than usual. Vasopressin was the equivalent of oxytocin for males. Then, after getting that experiment, they made another one, which is the reverse of the oxytocin, which they injected something so that oxytocin would be blocked. The result, voles became indifferent and failed to form pair bonds. Quite interesting, huh? Tom Insel, a former colleague of Carter, have found out that oxygen receptors of these monogamous prairie voles are planted firmly in the reward circuitry of the brain. Oxytocin receptors and dopamine receptors overlap, making brains wired to make forming attachments pleasurable. Meaning, they mate, they produce oxytocin and dopamine as well. They are content and they are happy. Actually, this shed light to the human brain chemicals because, like the prairie voles, the oxytocin receptors of humans are located in dopamine-rich regions of the brain. Here I have a picture of the common deactivations by love, parental and romantic. But because we are focusing on the romantic part, here is the romantic part on the lower portion. These pictures are taken by Helen Fisher. She was the first one who wanted to know about the brain functions and wanted to know the answers about this. They used an fMRI machine. fMRI machines are functional magnetic resonance imaging, which works by measuring blood flow in the brain. In the test, the clients would be shown pictures of the person they love. So the parts of the brain that lights up are number 1, the ventral tegmental. This is a clump of tissue in the lower portion of the brain. It is the essential refinery for dopamine. It wants reward, it creates craving, motivation, and goal-oriented behavior, meaning ecstasy. When you're fresh in love, there is a higher dopamine jolt. Number 2, the nucleus accumbens. It is found in the higher portion of the brain and farther forward than that of the ventral tegmental. It controls serotonin and oxytocin. And the last one, the third one, the caudate nuclei. The caudate nuclei is a pair of shrimp-like structures on either side of the head. Now this is responsible for the motor skills and the memory. The ventral tegmental for the dopamine, the nucleus accumbens for control, serotonin and oxytocin, and the caudate nuclei for memory. One primal part of the brain working for love makes the feeling powerful. It's enough to make the feeling powerful. How much more 3, right? So what really is this thing called love? What does it do to our bodies? What changes does it do to our brain and our hormones? How does it happen? I guess I've answered all of these questions. The love pheromones are the invisible signals, the hormones, and the 3 parts of the brain. Does it last? Does love last? As I mentioned earlier, 18 months would be the maximum. Everything will be up to you and your partner after that. Scientifically, is love real? Well, I guess I'd leave that to you to know. And before I leave, I want to leave a quotation from Jeffrey Luger, author of The Science of Romance, Why We Love. He said, "Calling something like love mundane, of course, is true as far as it goes. Romance may be nothing more than reproductive filigree, a bit of decoration that makes us want to perpetuate the species and ensure that we do it right. But nothing could convince a person in love that there isn't something more. And the fact is, no one never really wants to be convinced. That's a nut science may never fully crack." This has been Ivy Bandoquillo, and I hope you get some information about love and its relation to science.